I walked into my childhood home expecting dinner. I left knowing I had never truly belonged. I had lived for 35 years without ever imagining that a family dinner could shatter everything I had ever believed in. The flickering candles on the dining table, the soft glow from the vintage chandelier, the rich aroma of my mother's signature stew floating through the air. It was a perfectly orchestrated trap hand. I walked right into it. 2 weeks earlier, my mother had called with a sweetness in her voice that raised immediate suspicion. "Sophia, you should come home for dinner. It's been so long since we've all been together." It had been years since I'd sat at that table. My parents only ever called when they needed something. But hope is a strange thing, it fools even the smartest of us. So, I left San Francisco, my buzzing office, my unfinished reports, and made the drive to Sacramento. I arrived holding on to a whisper of belief that maybe, just this once, they genuinely wanted me there. That belief shattered moments after I sat down. To avoid any misunderstandings, Parker, my younger brother, began smoothly, "Mom and Dad want you to know now." He paused for effect, leaning back, arms crossed, like he'd just landed a major business deal. Olivia, my younger sister, twirled a strand of golden hair, a smug smile stretching across her lips. I felt it before I heard it. "Your father and I have finalized our will," Mom said. "This house, the lakefront villa in Tahoe, everything, we've decided to leave it to Parker and Olivia." Silence. A silence so dense it felt like the room had caved in. I turned to Dad, hoping, pleading silently for some denial. But he didn't speak. He didn't even look at me. He just stared into his glass of wine. "Why?" I asked, my voice sharp, but barely above a whisper. Parker was too quick, too comfortable. "Because you don't need it, right? You've got your fancy company and your own place. Olivia and I could really use the help. Support, that's what they were calling it. Support," I said, nearly choking on the word. "Olivia hasn't held a job for more than 6 months. Parker's changed majors more times than I can count. And you two have been bleeding Mom and Dad dry for years." Mom's jaw clenched. "Sophia, there's no need to overreact. Your father and I have thought this through, and the $40,000 I gave you to renovate the Tahoe villa, the money I spent paying off your mortgage when you were drowning in debt, the thousands I covered in bills and repairs, none of that counts." Olivia laughed lightly. "Wow, so you're keeping receipts now? That's disappointing." "This is fraud," I snapped. "This is exploitation." Mom's hands slammed the table. "Enough. Stop acting like a victim. We did this because we love all of our children." I couldn't breathe. The anger sat like a stone in my chest. Parker, ever the performer, smirked. "You're acting like we took your favorite toy? Grow up." "No more. You've never seen me as your daughter," I whispered. "Just your wallet." I stood, the chair scraping harshly against the wood floor. "I'm done." "What did you say?" Mom said, rising to her feet. "I said I'm done. No more money. No more favors. No more being used. You're breaking this family apart," she spat. I turned at the door. "You broke it the moment you sold your daughter for convenience." Back in San Francisco, my hands trembled as I opened my banking app. $2,100. Monthly, mortgage, utilities, tuition, vacations, gifts, every expense they'd quietly passed to me. I canceled all the auto payments with the precision of a surgeon. My phone rang. Again, and again, and again. "Mom, Dad, Olivia, Parker." Voicemail after voicemail. "Mom, Sophia, don't do this. We're your family. We're struggling." "Dad, your mother's upset. Let's talk. Don't be rash." "Olivia, you're so pathetic, petty, greedy." "Parker, you're going to regret this." No apologies, just guilt. Just gaslighting. I blocked them all. For the first time in a decade. The silence was beautiful. 3 weeks passed. Then came the message from Mom. "Family meeting. 7 p.m. the house. This is not an invitation, it's your responsibility." I should have deleted it. Should have walked away. But I did in single quotes T maybe. Deep down, I wanted to see if they were capable of remorse. The moment I stepped inside the house, I knew. Parker was smiling. Olivia was smug. Dad was stoic. And Mom had her mask on. "We need to resolve this tension," Dad said. "Tension? You mean me cutting off the gravy train?" I said. Olivia rolled her eyes. Still playing the victim. "You're just mad you didn't get an inheritance." I stood, my voice like a blade. "I came here hoping you'd own your mistakes. But you're still the same parasites." Mom's voice was cold. Walk out that door, and don't expect to return. I gripped the knob. I never felt welcome here anyway. I slammed the door behind me. Back at my apartment, I froze. My door was sealed shut, hardened foam, jammed into the crevices, expanding, like cancer. I didn't need to ask who. I already knew, and now, this was war. My breath caught in my throat. My front door. The only barrier between me and the life I had rebuilt was coated in hardened, grayish-white expanding foam, every crevice sealed. Sabotaged, intentionally. I didn't need to ask who did it. I already knew. I opened my security app, my hands trembling, pulse pounding like war drums. I rewound the footage. There he was, Parker. In a hoodie, a cap pulled low over his smug face, grinning, a can of foam in one hand. My name and independence had bruised his ego. And this was his response. He thought I'd crawl back. Humiliated, he thought wrong. I saved the footage, took screenshots, and dialed the police. 30 minutes later, a uniformed officer stood at my door, his gaze flitting between the foam and my cold expression. Would you like to file a formal complaint? I nodded. Yes, this isn't a prank. This is harassment. He started writing. Name of the individual, Parker, my brother. Not that he deserves the title. The next morning, my phone rang. Dad, I stared at the name for a long moment before answering. Sophia, sweetheart, does this really have to go this far? I scoffed, calling to ask me to drop the charges. No, it's just Parker was upset. He didn't mean harm. He sealed my door shut. Dad, what if I had a child or a pet inside? What if I had an emergency? He hesitated. I didn't. If he didn't want consequences, he shouldn't have acted like a thug. What do you want to make this go away? $33,000. What? Door damage, legal costs, and emotional distress. I'm being generous. That's extortion. No, Dad. That's what accountability looks like. Click. 3 days later, $33,000 landed in my account. No apology. No message, just silence, and I liked it that way, but they couldn't handle losing control. Aunt Susan messaged me. Sophia, your parents sacrificed for you. This is how you repay them. Uncle Mark, money comes and goes. Don't lose your family. Cousin Rachel, they're about to lose their home. Do you feel nothing? I stared at the screen in disbelief. My mother had flipped the narrative. She made herself the martyr, and me the villain. They played the victim card. I was done letting them deal, so I opened Facebook, and I wrote, for over 10 years, I paid my parents' mortgage, bills, and my siblings' tuition. I never asked for anything in return. But when they rewrote their will, they gave everything to Parker and Olivia. When I asked why, they said, you don't need it. When I stopped paying, they called me selfish. Now they're telling others, I've abandoned them. The truth, they're not losing their home. They're just losing their free ride. Setting boundaries isn't betrayal, it's self-respect. I hit post. The internet exploded. Shares, comments, praise, outrage, support. 3 hours later, Mom called. What the hell do you think you're doing? Telling the truth. You're ruining this family's reputation. No, Mom, you did that when you turned me into the villain. Click. 3 months passed. I felt lighter, freer, alone, but not lonely. My money was mine, my peace unbuttered. I traveled. I laughed. I lived. From the Seine in Paris to the windswept cliffs of Machu Picchu. I chased every dream I'd put off for their sake. News filtered in whispers from old neighbors. Mom was a waitress now. Dad a laborer. Parker still unemployed. Olivia still pretending she was an influencer, but now with no one to fund her fake lifestyle. And me, I was finally living. Then came Alex. Gentle, grounded, unexpected. We met on a hiking trip. He didn't ask for anything. Didn't expect me to prove myself. He just saw me, and for the first time, I let someone in without fear of being used. One night, on my balcony, city lights glittering below, I whispered to the wind. Being cut out of the will was the best gift they ever gave me. I thought I had found peace, but peace, like glass, is fragile. It was a Sunday morning when it started again. I was sipping coffee on my balcony, Alex still asleep inside, sunlight dancing across the city skyline. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Instinct told me to ignore it, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello, a shaky voice answered. Female, familiar. Sophia. It's Aunt Teresa. I hadn't heard from her in years. She had always stayed neutral in the family drama. Quiet, distant. I know it's not my place, but I think you should know something going on with your parents, Parker, Olivia. It's not right. My heart slowed. What do you mean they've stared trying to sue you? For emotional damages, defamation, your Facebook post. I laughed bitterly. Defamation. They'd need to prove I lied. I know, but they've found a lawyer. One of Olivia's exes. He's bitter and petty, but ruthless. Just be careful. After the call ended, I sat frozen. Not in fear, but disbelief. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about revenge. I woke Alex. He rubbed sleep from his eyes, alarmed by my tone. You okay? They're coming after me again. Legally. He didn't ask if I wanted to fight. He just nodded. Then we'll fight. Together. A week later, a courier arrived. A letter, formal, cold, legal. They had filed a suit for defamation and undue emotional stress. They accused me of false public statements that caused reputational harm and distress. It was laughable, but also dangerous. They were counting on public sympathy again, manipulating the legal system the same way they manipulated family. I hired a lawyer, Layla Rhodes, sharp as glass and twice as clear. They're bluffing, she said, flipping through the paperwork. But they're hoping you'll settle quietly. Give them money to make it go away. I'm not giving them a cent. Good. Then we fight. Alex became my anchor. He came to court dates, held my hand, cooked me dinner when my appetite vanished. And somewhere between the depositions and affidavits, I realized something startling. I loved him, not the fragile conditional kind I had grown up knowing, but real, steady, simple. We were walking by the bay when I whispered it. He stopped, eyes wide, then smiled. Took you long enough. The court case dragged on. Parker lied on the stand, claiming he never sabotaged my door. Olivia cried crocodile tears, claiming she lost brand deals due to my post. But Layla was relentless. She presented the footage, the screenshots, the bank transfers, the receipts, each one a dagger. In the end, the judge dismissed their case with prejudice. Not only did they lose, but they couldn't file again. Layla even pushed for damages and we won. $15,000. Symbolic but satisfying as we left the courthouse. Olivia hissed, "You think this is over?" I turned slowly. "Oh, Olivia. For you, it just began. I didn't seek revenge. I didn't need to. Their lives were unraveling without my help." Months passed. Alex moved in. I opened my first nonprofit to empower forward, helping women financially disentangle from toxic families. My story went viral again. But this time, it wasn't just mine. Women from across the country shared their stories, their betrayals, their freedom. But just when I thought the past had finally died, a letter arrived, no return address, handwritten, unfamiliar penmanship. I opened it slowly. Inside, a single line. "You think the inheritance was the only secret your family kept?" My hands trembled. Not from fear but from something colder. Dread. Beneath the note was a photo, an old one, torn on the edges, a hospital room. My mother, holding a newborn, but it wasn't me. It was dated 3 years before I was born. I stared at the photo, long after the letter fell to the floor. A hospital bed. My mother smiling weakly. In her arms. A baby wrapped in pink. Dated June 1983. I was born in 1986. 3 years before me. But no child had ever been mentioned. No sibling. No loss. Nothing. It was as if that baby had been erased from existence. Alex walked into the living room. I hadn't moved in half an hour. He crouched beside me, worry etched across his face. "Sophia, what is it?" I handed him the photo and note. He read them slowly, his brow furrowed. "Did you know you had another sister?" "No, never." "Then it's time you found out." The next morning, I drove to the one person who might give me an honest answer. Aunt Teresa. She opened the door in a housecoat, her gray hair pulled into a bun. Her eyes widened at the sight of me. "Sophia. I figured you'd come." I held up the photo. "Who is she?" Her eyes welled with tears. "You weren't supposed to know. Your mother swore us all to silence." "I'm not asking about family gossip, Aunt Teresa. I'm asking about blood. Mine, hers." She motioned me inside. Her hands trembled as she poured tea. "Her name was Isabel, your sister." I clutched the photo. "Where is she now?" "I don't know. Your parents gave her up." "Gave her up? For adoption?" "No, not legally. They sent her to live with a distant relative in Oregon." Said they couldn't afford another child. A pit opened in my stomach. She was discarded. Like I was except earlier. Worse, Aunt Teresa whispered, because she wasn't even remembered. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling. The words circling in my head. Discarded. Forgotten. Erased. A week later, with help from a private investigator, I had a list of all women named Isabel, born on June 4, 1983. In Sacramento County. After 3 dead ends, the 4th name changed everything. Belle Monroe. Adopted by her great-aunt. Raised in Portland, now a corporate fraud analyst in Seattle. I stared at her photo online. Brown eyes. Sharp jawline. The resemblance was eerie, and so, I reached out. She agreed to meet at a cafe near the pier. When I arrived, she was already seated, her hands around a coffee cup. I approached, heart thudding. She looked up and froze. You must be Sophia. Her voice was calm, strong, familiar in a strange way. Yes, I've been waiting for this for a long time. We sat, in silence at first, then slowly, the walls came down. She had known for 5 years she was adopted, but no one told her who her real parents were. Until last month, she said. When a package arrived at my office, no return address. It had your photo, Sophia. Articles, the family court case. I started digging. I nodded slowly. Someone wants us to find each other. But why now? She looked down at her cup. Maybe because there's something bigger we don't know. Over the next few weeks, we met often, talked daily. Alex watched the connection with quiet support. Layla, ever the detective, helped us request records, and what we found shook us both. Our parents weren't just hiding Isabel. They had embezzled funds, over $200,000 from a family trust set up by our late grandmother. The trust was supposed to go equally to all descendants, but our parents forged documents. Listed Parker and Olivia as sole beneficiaries, and erased Isabel's name entirely. The inheritance fight had never just been about favoritism, it had been about fraud. They committed a felony, Isabel whispered, disbelief in her voice, and we can prove it. We debated our next step. Should we go public? File charges? Stay silent? Alex broke the tie. You both spent your lives being silenced. Maybe it's time to speak. And so we did. We contacted a journalist. Gave her everything. Documents, photos, the backstory. The expose broke on a Sunday morning. Front page, family fortune fraud. The sisters who fought back. It went viral within hours. Parker's remaining friends distanced themselves. Olivia deactivated her social media. My parents, their assets were frozen. An investigation opened, and finally, for the first time there was silence. No calls, no threats, just silence. Isabel and I stood together on the coast a month later, waves crashing, wind fierce. We lost a lot, she said. Yes, I replied, but we found each other. She smiled. That's worth more than any inheritance. I took her hand. I had lost my old family, but I had gained something stronger. A sister, a love, a life that no longer needed anyone's permission to exist.